I'm Lucas Day, and this is my aluminum initials project. I created these aluminum placards to give to my teachers and principals as thank yous for letters of recommendation and for being awesome instructors. This is my reusable green sand. It is not actually green, but green in the sense that it is used in a damp state, like in the phrase green wood. The sand is comprised of 100 pounds of play sand, 12 pounds of powdered bentonite clay, and a gallon of water. To the displeasure of my mother, I used a kitchen sifter to sort out only the smallest particles of sand, so that the molds would be more precise. Luckily for me, kitty litter is actually 100% bentonite clay, and I used a thrift store blender to grind it all up. Once all mixed together, the damp clay binds together the sand when compressed, allowing the mold to hold its shape. To make the mold blanks, I designed letters and a backplate in Inventor and 3D printed them. The letters have a square extrusion on their backs that are hot glued into a hole in the back plate. This way, the letters were easily interchanged with each other, and any combination of initials could be made. To make the mold with the sand, I start by lying 2 sets of initials in the upside down drag, about 2.5 inches apart. I fill up the drag with sand about halfway, and use a piece of wood as a ramming tool to compress it. Then I fill up the rest of the drag, ram it down again, and smooth over the top. Next, I flip over the drag and put the cope on top of it. The cope is filled with more sand, using a piece of PVC pipe to create a pouring hole. After that is rammed and wiped flat, the cope is taken off. The plastic blanks are carefully removed. Now, I use a spoon to dig a well that keeps the aluminum hot as it flows into the molds. I also use the spoons to create runners and exhausts. In the cope, I use the spoon to dig out exhaust holes, as well as a little spout around the pouring hole to help me pour the aluminum. Once all of that has been completed, the cope is replaced on top of the drag, and the mold is ready for the molten aluminum. A quick note about some important safety equipment. I always used a face shield, long pants, long sleeves, closed-toed shoes, and welding gloves when handling aluminum to prevent any possible harm to myself. Here is my blast furnace. I used a 10-gallon steel bucket as the base for the furnace. The steel bucket is lined with about an inch of a homemade refractory material, a mixture of play sand and plaster of Paris in a 1:1 ratio, and then mixed with water. The lid is made of the same material, but with a dense web of steel wool for structural support. A shop vac blows air through the steel pipe to burn the fuel faster and hotter. To hold the aluminum, I bought a used clay graphite crucible. I used charcoal briquettes for fuel, and it takes about half a bag, or 8 pounds of them, to get the aluminum to melt at 660 degrees Celsius or 1,220 degrees Fahrenheit. 3 minutes after the aluminum has been molten, the aluminum is hot enough to be poured into the mold. Once the aluminum has solidified in the mold, I can remove it from the mold and recollect the sand for future use. With an upright bandsaw and a grinder wheel, I remove the runners and exhaust from the initials and sand down the connections to be flush with the rest of the piece. This process took many iterations to get right, but the hard work has definitely paid off, and it turned out to be a great gift for my teachers.